Welcome. We are delighted to have you here today to share with us a very monumental event, an event which involves a contribution to Western Washington University and an addition to our campus.
In working towards our partnership, we were asked to state to the panel, the selection panel, what we considered important. We said that we recognized many different types of art, but what we were looking for was someone who had a proven record, someone who had established career, someone who had worked in public art, public spaces before, and certainly someone who had a high standard of excellence and was recognized by a very large arts audience. Today on Weston's campus, she is here again to integrate art with the landscape and the architecture. And we are very honored to present her new work, her extraordinary work, Manus, to you, the community. At this time, I would like to introduce Magdalena Abakanowicz.
I would like to say how this sculpture was born, how I created it. So it begins here on the campus. When I was here 1 year ago, I spent nearly a week walking, looking, feeling the ambience, looking at those young people moving around, this young energy, looking at the wonderful environment.
With great interest, I looked at the activities here, at the space filled with energy, with a very special atmosphere that you all create here.
And I decided it should be a sculpture that would be somewhere between humans and nature.
This is an area which is extremely alive, as I said, full of energy, full of movement. I could not make a figurative work here because the stiffness of it would be disturbing. I think that every art reflects the reality, even in a completely unconscious way, in which it is made.
I also knew that the sculpture must be made out of bronze, because bronze is a very sensitive material that allows to express a lot through its surface. And you can see my fingers all over this surface.
You can look at the inside, which is as important as the outside. It only shows an interior which is as different from the outside as in reality. When we open a trunk or a body, we discover the inside as something that has an enormous individuality.
And it comes, as you know, from a completely different reality in which I have spent my life.
I needed this reality probably because of my childhood broken by the war, because of extremely difficult circumstances in my country, because of revolutions and all kinds of things that were a terrible pressure on me. So I needed to create my reality which would somehow protect me.
I will not explain this sculpture in a literal way, because you see it here and it is a metaphoric image of, as I said, something between nature and man. I appeal to the imagination of people, because when we rely on it, we can understand much more than through explanation. We should not forget that at the very beginning of every creative process is a mystery, if it is in science or in art. Science opens new doors behind which we see other doors and other doors and other doors. Art do not solve any problems, but makes us aware of their existence. It opens our eyes to see and our brain to imagine. To have imagination and to be aware of it means to benefit from possessing an inner richness and a spontaneous and endless flood of images. It means to see the world in its entirety, since the point of the images is to show all that which escapes conceptualization.
I believe that art works can create for people spaces to contemplate, to meditate, and this happened with some of the spaces I created. Will the new function of space to experience make possible the designation of places in which we can return to our roots? Or perhaps by integrating with this space, we are only trying to find a way of perceiving ourselves? Or perhaps it is only a desire to prove that space can defend a genuine work and protects its majesty.